create a wall that walks the line. There's a rare few who think outside the box together for the crew. To break the equations, not bound to any rule. Exposing to the world the universe is all view. It takes the talent of the craftsman, it takes the mind of the fool, to make the vision realize energy and matter in a duel. To a break, to a duel. The old man Bills was running through his head. Cheryl probably got it hiding under his bed. Penny up to Annie, making power for days. Don't listen to a word that the straight dope says. Mike building batteries that power a ship. Victor comes and talking math, that's the water spiral dip. Sean chucking plasma bolts a mile long. Sheila on the video making tone truck the prongs. Bernie breaking matter, they said it couldn't be done. And to all the people in the chat, I know you're having fun. So it's time to spend your Saturday with the dope and old man Bills.
What's going on, everybody? Merry
So
Christmas.
Come spend your Monday with the dope and old man Bills. It's
Right
a different
on,
day all the time.
Different day all the time. Not really. It's just Christmas, man.
That's it. It is.
What's going on, Joe? Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Nathan. Merry Christmas, everybody. It's good
Oh.
to see you.
Darren coming in hot, man. 10 Old Man Bills memberships right off the bat, dude.
So
Look at
Merry
you go.
Christmas to all you. Get a membership, and don't forget to renew after it runs out. Now, you can't all be dependent on Darren to buy you guys memberships.
Right on, brother. Thank you. And I just want to say, Darren, everything, hopefully it's going well, man. I know he's got some surgery that happened here. And he said he's gotten home instead of staying there for Christmas.
Yeah, that's a rough thing to have to go through and whatnot, Darren. I hope you're doing well.
Darren dropping it hot again, man. $50, man, on a super sticker. Dang, Darren happy to be out of the hospital, bro. That's what I think that is. Darren, thank you very much, brother.
Right on, that's awesome.
We're glad you're doing well. Right on, guys. All right, Joe's just getting his stuff set up there.
Yep.
So what's going on, everybody? Courtney Sam's out there. He's gonna hook us up again, man. He's got an oscilloscope for us, an old school one, so we can start mapping things out, man, in the ratios, just like what's her name was doing. So I'm looking forward to that, man. That's gonna be cool.
Oh, you're talking about the work that Sheila was doing?
Sheila was doing, yeah.
Right. I remember that.
So he sent me a message a couple of days ago, man. I'm gonna hook up with him after the holidays, and we're gonna shoot off that big old Tesla coil, man. He's got this thing, awesome. Joe. Check this out. He didn't just go one story. You know what I mean? Like you saw last time, the big one. He put a second story on top of it, a second Tesla coil with a second breakout thing. Dude, I just want to see what this thing does.
Me too. I think everybody does.
So awesome,
and Courtney, that would make a great live event, man. That's all I gotta say. I'd love to see that.
Maybe we'll just throw it in live, yeah. You get it ripping, man, and then you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I just wish my phone wasn't cutting out so much when it was on. I'll have to figure out a different way to do that then. The last time my phone wouldn't stay on, it kept going on and off, on and off. So
yeah, I know recording these things is hard. I have that problem anytime I try to record anything or to even take a photo. In fact, I found an anomaly on something I revisited a while ago. Do you remember that I put that picture up of that unusual light that I saw in the sky, and then when I right? So I had always played with the levels and stuff, but like anything else, it's nice to revisit things because you learn stuff as you go along, right? But I did it, and I got the same exact result. But what I found was super weird, all right, was there all along, and I just simply never noticed it. And that was the top left-hand corner in the entire top bar of the photo was all screwed up and digitized with black, alternating black with green stripes, like an old school TV when it goes for a second where it gets the green stripes. It was like that along an entire pixel stretch of pixel bars right at the top of the exposure. So I was like, how did I never notice that before? It's because I was never really looking there.
Right.
But even that, and I had taken a bunch of photos, and that was like the only one that even turned out a little bit. And I feel like I don't even have as many photos as I took um, of it. And yeah, and then that was present. I just thought it was super strange.
Right on, brother. Kind of cool, man. Some of this stuff pops up after you're not looking for it. You know what I mean? After so long, I love that.
Yeah.
I do that when I slow things down. You know what I mean? Put things in slow motion after we've seen the video 100 times. I'm like, well, I missed all of this.
Yeah, I mean it's actually an important tool is to go back and revisit things because sometimes you just look at it through a whole different lens. And a lot of times, especially if you're spending a lot of time with video or images, you spend so much time looking at the darn thing to try and see whatever there is to be seen or expose whatever there is to expose out of messing with stuff that a lot of times you get so tied up in those tasks that you kind of start missing things. And again, it's important to go back with like just a fresh mind sometimes.
Yeah, I agree with that. Totally agree with that. So, dude, we were messing around this morning and I sent you a video. We're trying to get that series together for the Rav, man. And I wasn't in the most serious form this morning.
It's a good little demo mock-up though. I'll tell you that. You definitely made it funny.
Oh, dude, I was just trying to set the setup line, like, you know what I mean? How do we want to do the show and stuff? And I kind of wanted to take something from the Y files and kind of come in like he does. You know what I mean? Just a little bit with a little bit, and then have the startup, and then a little bit more, and then get into some other stuff where we're breaking down stuff. I thought it worked out really good, man, but I had no patience for AI this morning. I just wrote like whatever came to my mind.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. In talking about it, it seems like we're leaning toward that like docu-series type of format, which I love because I mean all the great TV that exists, like, and I'm talking actual production TV that still exists. It's all
Hmm.
like that docu-series stuff where it's uh, they're kind of following a narrative line. Maybe there's even a bit of a plot.
Uh-huh.
But at the end of the day, it's like really an informative thing, and then they try to mix in like reality TV with it a little bit because it's sort of like the producers there. They looked at like the genres that worked and smashed them together to make another format altogether. So it's like a documentary, but at the same time, it's telling a story. And since it's like real, it's kind of like reality, but at the same time, it's yeah, but we're trying to get the information across in also a productive and effective manner. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be good for this community, but I think it's going to also, um, just as importantly, expand the horizon of the people that discover this, what we're doing.
Yeah, the cool thing is it's based on an experiment. So, you know what I mean? That's ongoing and it keeps on going and gets better. So that's what I like about it. It's actual events, things that are going on. We're not hypothesizing everything. We're showing you something, we're describing it. At the end, we'll let you make your own mind up of what you want to think of it. But at least you get the point of view of everybody who is involved.
Yeah, yeah, and that's I think what's probably most important now. It's like, as far as like where we are up to today, most of the information's out there that we've through us, right? But it's a hell of a catalog. It's a hell of a catalog, and it's all split up, in all sorts of random places that you'd really have to be dedicated to find it,
That's true.
to really have been following along. So unless you've been following along all along, somebody coming in, it's going to be very hard to catch up. So I think that it's great that we're doing it.
Yeah, I kind of start at the beginning and kind of show you the evolution of it. I like that too.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, Sean sent me some more stuff on this thing, man, and it was like he literally took glass and made it look like a bracelet, like a snowflake bracelet, is what he made it look like. I don't even know how to say it. It's like something you go into a glass shop which you've been struck by lightning kind of thing. It was just really cool the way it came out, man. So yeah, we're working on that together. Joe and I are going to be doing a whole channel on it. So I think that's going to be out of the box, man. We'll continue to do old man builds on this one and all the live stuff. But I think that's was definitely worth it. I gave AI some crap today. It was so funny. But yeah, I didn't use it forever. Now I like to go on there and stir up some shit so once in a while. So I asked it, I go, the solar system, I said it was it came out of something else, right? And it said, no, it's all built within itself, right? I go, okay, smart ass. So do you believe in over unity, right? Or do you believe in unity as an electrical system? And it says, no, you know what I mean? And I said, but you just said that it was self-sustaining on its own by itself. So how did it do it?
Right, right. Where's it getting it from then?
Yeah, and then it came back to me, okay, yeah, you're right. You can't do that. I go, well, then how the hell is it here? You know what I mean? How do new ones keep popping up all the time? It's like you can't say one thing on one side of the mouth and then expect me not to ask that question unless I'm complete dunce and missed it. You know what I mean? Either you believe that energy can't be created or destroyed, which it must come from a central system, or that you live out in the middle of nowhere and then all of a sudden things start to arranging and you have planets. And I don't know how you have the structure without the beginning of something and how it repeats itself without the beginning of something.
Mhm.
But then how do you say self-sustaining without saying it's over unity? And it's an enclosed system is what they said. It wasn't like it was an open system because they ruled that out by saying it's self-sustaining. You know what I mean? So I had a little fun this morning razzing a little bit. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
Because
you can talk sense to it a little bit. You know what you got to watch out for though, and it's something that I don't really hear people talk about too often with AI. Right? Is your AI will get to know you and the things that you generally know about and the things that you discuss and your interests and things like that, and then it has this habit of liking to pander, you know. So what you got to look out for is, sometimes you have to tell it with no context of anything we previously ever discussed. Okay, and then proceed with your question.
yeah, I noticed that.
And say give me your the objective take or whatever at the end of whatever you're saying, because if you don't actually say that, what ends up happening sometimes is it knows where you're coming from already, or generally, so then it just tries to relate with that and gives you an answer that maybe you want to hear, even if it's not the answer that it would otherwise give. So if we were just to go use a random person's GPT, like, hey, can I grab your phone and ask GPT something real quick? Yeah, sure. Here you go. Right. You ask it, it's going to give you a totally different answer
Oh
because
yeah.
they've never asked it anything like what you're about to. Right.
Hmm.
So it has to go through other information in order for its large language model. When you start to train it yourself, then what ends up happening is it starts kind of pulling the recall from those other chat boxes.
Right.
So
I,
just
I,
be
li-
careful of that.
I like breaking its balls, man. So
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Just like, okay, you're gonna tell me all this stuff, act high and mighty, and then I'm just gonna cut your legs out. You know what I mean? We're gonna see what you can't justify one thing with the wrong answer to me and then not expect me to come back and say something. It doesn't work.
Right, right. I mean, it's not a person, Nathan, but I get it.
Well,
You're
yeah,
just proving a point.
I, proving it to myself that I'm not lost my mind yet. Maybe that's it.
Maybe. Oh,
Uh,
that's a stretch sometimes, I can tell you. For
yeah,
all,
some days you never know, huh?
that's it.
Dude, I had a senior moment. Okay, check this out. Okay, I haven't hit 50 yet, but I had a senior moment. I'm literally driving home from God. I swear to God, Joe, this was the creepiest thing I ever did. I went up to go get a battery from somebody, right? And the person was nice enough and everything. It wasn't about him or anything there. It was the roads I went up to, right? I'm going up and I came by one of these like motels up in the middle of the woods. So here I am driving up this giant mountain, right? Come by this hotel. It's one story, okay? Like a full on motel. And I'm thinking, oh my God, you could die in an axe murder there, right? And then I go up and I go further and I get to this guy's road. And then I start driving up, like I swear to God, the dirt road from hell that I'm glad I had my 4 by when I was going there because if I would have taken my wife's car, I would have crashed it. This thing was, and he didn't even bother to tell me this, by the way. Hey, I live out in the middle of nowhere, so you're going to have to fucking 4 by to my house. So I get over there, I get this dude, I get this feeling like I got to the end of the street and there's literally trees hanging over every single fence. It's
Oh,
dark as hell. And I'm like, I'm so gonna die tonight. Like I wanted a battery, but I'm going to die. Like, yeah, it was creepy as shit, dude. So yeah, I sorry, I kind of lost myself there a little bit. I got through that, man, and got the battery, and the guy was as nice as could be. But that shit freaked me out, bro. That really freaked me out.
yeah, yeah. Listen, I mean, it's one thing to live in the boonies where there's nothing around you, but it's a whole other thing to live in the middle of nowhere. Like,
Yes.
that's a whole nother that's a whole nother thing because even as rural as it is where I live, uh, where it's like, oh, the next place over is like a quarter mile or more away, door to door, more or less, right? Um, the idea that you look around and nothing is around you is very real in some places, especially out west. I feel like out west that's more of a thing.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't so much that there wasn't everything around. It was just overgrown.
Mm,
Like death lives here. You know what I mean? Like no one comes out to cut anything. Like nobody
right.
manicures anything. And I met the nicest guy on the road too. I go, dude, do you know where this address is? And he was the nicest person in the world. Helped me out a great deal. You know what I mean? Finding this guy. It was just one of the creepiest things. Like dude. Okay, so I had the senior mall. I had another one right there, apparently. So when I got back down the hill and I'm driving towards the house, I went this road probably a million times, all right? And I literally blinked. I had no idea where the fuck I was. Okay.
Mm,
Literally no idea. I saw the street, I saw the lights, I saw everything. This is something I've seen a million times. I had no idea where it was.
that's crazy.
Just none. And I just pulled over and I just kind of stared. And I'm thinking, was it some kind of emotional response about what I just went through and put my own mind through? Did I just seriously forget everything? You know what I mean? Like, what the hell is going on here? And then I took like 5 minutes, dude. And then I started driving and I said, Nathan, just keep following this road. You know it's right. And I finally got down to the local supermarket, you know what I mean? And found my way home. But it freaked me out, man, because I was like, how do you just lose everything all at once? Like,
Right.
yeah, totally screwed up in the head. And I said, you know what? I've been telling the wife this for a while. I should not be driving at night. And I just thought to myself, I think this is one of the last times I do it.
No kidding. Wow. You're too young to not be driving at night, man. But hey, I get it. Maybe not to like a strange part of town to meet up with somebody you don't know. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe
you
not
can
that.
start somewhere, man. Like, I'm sure you'd be all right around.
No, it was more than that though, man. Like I've been losing the ability to do certain things for a while, and I think I figured it out, dude. And I told you kind of backstage the other time what it was. But it comes with all kinds of problems, man. You don't see as well. Lights don't reflect well at night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, I don't get a whole lot of sleep at night. You know what I mean? For my body to recover is what it should do. And the crazy thing, man, it's all fixable. So one of the reasons I would take a few extra days off this week, not just a holiday, I needed to reset the way I did things. see if I can't get some of that stuff back. You know what I mean? Because it's been really bad lately, man. Like I'll literally take 2 hours of sleep, wake up, have a cup of coffee, and stay up for another three, and then go back to bed for like 3 or 4 hours, dude. But I'm not getting the same sleep, no REM sleep, nothing like that. And I think it's really just tearing through me.
Yeah, and like that no sleep will catch up with you and do awful, awful things. It really will, and it could mess with just more than your how energetic you are. Right?
Oh
It
yeah.
could actually mess with your immune system, and once that gets all out of whack, and your hormones and all this, and once those two things are out of whack, you're done. Like you shut down. The chemicals aren't right. Total imbalance. You got to get yourself a rice machine.
Yeah. Like Eight says, I need a good organite.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, he's right. You know what? It's how do I say it? Like because I have gout and stuff, I usually have inflammation, but you can write off a lot of symptoms of the bad the bad stuff that you could have for that. And that's what I was doing. So when I went back to see the doctor, he kind of corrected that. I said, take this out of the picture. What would it normally be? And he started checking stuff off on the box, and I just put my head down and going, oh God, there it is. So yeah. Anyway, I don't want to talk about it too much. I just
Yeah, I got you though. But yeah, get the rest, spend the time with the family.
yeah.
It's the season, as they say, right?
So yeah, it's kind of one of the reasons it's sluggish, not getting a lot done. So get the rest and everything, man. Make sure it happens. I agree with that.
Yeah, well, it's a good time of year to plan the next step.
Yeah,
And
I
I
did.
know that that's where you and I have been talking for a while now on everything that is going to, hopefully come together for next year, and that's what I'm excited for.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for it too, man. I've been kind of putting it off to make sure I got it right because I didn't want to come at it with the wrong frame of mind. So yeah, uh, I have a lot of that stuff available to me. I was answer something in the chat. I don't usually do a lot of that stuff. I used to, not so much now. So I kind of cut all that out all at once. So cleaned up all that stuff. Just can't believe I had a senior moment, man. That was terrifying.
Yeah,
So I can only imagine what people if they had like Alzheimer's and stuff and like pop in and out of reality. Dude, that I don't even know how they do that. Like maybe they don't know, but being that I knew freaked me out.
I get it. Yeah, right. I think that is the coping mechanism, right, for the human body is just like when you start going into those modes, it's like so be none the wiser, and then it won't affect you. But
Yeah.
if you realize it away, but do what's right for you, do what's best for yourself, and everything else tends to fall in place the best it can, right? The best it can, as long as you're proactive. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm there with you. All right, let's get on to some good stuff. And yeah, I think I might be in this next year talking to Eighth over there about some organite help over there too. So we'll get
Yep.
to that, man.
You gotta bring the energy and the energy exchange and the time fluctuations in from the fourth dimension,
Oh yeah.
as we've discussed, right? Um,
Yeah, I need like an angel over my shoulder, you know what I mean?
well, you know what? I wanted to touch on something real quick about the fourth dimension, and how I view it, because we did the show a couple days ago on it, right?
Hmm.
And then I have the paper that is going to be coming out very, very shortly on it, finalized. And I had asked for a little bit of feedback, from throughout the group and everything. And Phil was kind enough to actually, read over, skim over the paper and whatnot, and just give me his 2 cents on it. And he said, "Hey, I like and agree with some of this, some of the stuff that you're saying in there." He's like, "The one thing that you'll never get me on board with, though, is the multi-universe thing, right?"
Okay.
And I kind of feel that way too. I mean, I'm going to be honest, because the way that I think about it is different than that. Not all that different, but I've heard it described in so many ways or whatever, right? That it becomes this really, really woo-woo thing, right? But the way that I imagine it is different than I've ever heard it described. And who knows if I'm right, and nobody can prove this, but at least at this moment. Um, but the way that I see it is like it's we're a building block of that. Okay. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that all the other building blocks in which it is consisted of, okay, are absolutely alternative of our own reality. It could rather just be a like frames of our reality. And that would be enough for it to be relevant because if the time is the difference and a lot like there's a certain condensed amount of time that's present simultaneously in the fourth dimension, let's say, it doesn't have to be that reality, that out of phase reality doesn't have to be all these different possibilities that did or didn't happen, right? Or all these different ways that it could have went, like some people describe, or some other place entirely. It could literally just be from this moment to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, is the building blocks of that dimension, which would actually make a lot more sense and become a lot more feasible. So if you think about it, where it's like the same, it's cutting the frames of the movie out, right? And then that's what makes up that dimension is all of those frames individually, all at the same time, right?
Okay.
Whereas the other things are kind of like saying it's like a movie running a reel, except they're all different movies playing on different channels. You see? And that becomes harder to palate because that kind of would imply what we've all kind of heard before, right? Oh, there's another you who made a slightly different choice who's living a totally different life because of it, and it's real. It's just over on that side. See, I don't see it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, I see it more like the building blocks are 3D pieces of what we would consider the passage of time, but those things all build up in in that upper dimensional reality. So that's what I think of it as. And I wanted to clarify that because I feel like nobody's really mentioned it in that particular kind of way. And it to me feels more both plausible and palatable.
Well, it kind of goes down to what you can kind of prove. I mean, you proved you had this one existence. That's there. If you got to be able to look back on it, you'd be able to show all that. That I'm cool with. If there's another me out there somewhere, I'd love to meet him. You know what I mean? And if there's a billion me's, God save us all. But that'd be cool too. I don't know. I mean, I just kind of feel like show it to me, and I've got open eyes, and I have no problem taking it in if that's the case. But I got to see a little bit first, right? You know what I mean? Got to see that it's there, that I'm not going crazy.
Well,
So,
then you got to spiral out and keep going.
well, that's not the same as getting all high and screwed up in the head, is it? Like,
No, I mean, I don't think so.
okay, just making sure, because that would probably do it.
I mean, that might be one way to do it, I would suppose. So,
I think I'd
but,
meet a lot of people there.
oh, oh, oh.
Oh man, yeah. I don't know about all that, Joe. I just know that it's got to start somewhere in the middle, and it's got to emerge out, and it's got to keep repeating itself in order to continue. And I don't think it's something that it can help itself. It has to do it. You know what I mean? Until everything goes away, it's going to do it. So it's you
Yeah.
know,
He's such a dick.
oh, that's great.
That's funny.
Let's see. Prediction Joe will try to explain for you more, and he still won't get it. Nice.
Yeah. I know you get it better than you think. 'Cause I know you do.
Oh man, yeah, I tried to tell that to AI today too. Yeah, light emerges. You know what I mean? Oh, but how does it emerge? How does it build things? I'm thinking, dude, if I could just show you one picture, you would totally see the whole difference in it. If you can see how light puts out that one beam and then all of a sudden it builds out this bubble around this one object in the center, I think it's pretty self-evident what's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
I
like he
disagree.
tried to tell me, Joe, that it's structured like there's nothing but energies everywhere, and then it just at one time decided it was self-organized. And I go, well, that's the crappiest explanation ever. I said, that's not even close to anything that's reality. Like, how does that work? Like, did you like mess up your turds in the toilet? They came back and made a relationship because then none of that makes any sense to me.
Well, no, because energy does the different thing, the opposite thing of matter. Okay, like energy wants to go into a diffuse state, and matter wants to consolidate. But you got to remember that the energy is only manifest in the presence of the matter, and the nature of the matter is it wants to basically take the matter back into an energy form. So it starts interacting with it in that sort of way. Until it realizes, oh, that's a task easier said than done. Ends up usually getting caught up and then ending up going into a diffuse state, or getting locked up into the whole matter quasi equilibrium matter lock. You know
Hmm.
that exists, and that's definitely what it is because the two things they want to annihilate each other. It's super fascinating.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm okay with that. I just not okay with all the pieces just sitting around and all of a sudden magically they come together like a fairy come over, put dust on them and said, "You'll now be a sun and you'll be planets." I just don't agree with that.
Well, how when they talk about different energies and like all this stuff, like phases that the Earth goes through and stuff that we experience, right? It's like when they say things like, "Well, Satan has been ruling the Earth for the last 1,000 years," and like you've heard things like that before. Like I'm not trying to grab at straws here, but I'm trying to say, there's a possibility that that whole entire allegory, that whole correlation, is to do with the ratio of energy to matter that's in the system at a given time. If it's an energy rich system, then the energy is either holding its ground or putting more energy into the system than typical. And that would be the opposite side of the spectrum. Whereas if the matter is just in a constant state of capturing the energy, and therefore the ambient energy is in a lower density state, that could very well be, change the ratio to that other side. Why is that relevant? Well, because at higher energy density levels and stuff, um, your connection to all that is like probably you know um, more available for most people, right? Or more
Yeah.
efficient, or stronger, or who knows the abilities that get turned on once a human being's energy levels are at beyond a certain point or resonant state, right? So it's interesting to think about it in a different way that's more scientific than just these allegorical, dogmatic
Hmm.
sorts of things people like to say.
Okay. Hmm. That's interesting. So I was looking at something earlier today too, Joe. The asymmetrical capacitor.
Mm,
I built one out of paper. Okay, so just go with me here. There's aluminum at the top. There's aluminum at the bottom. One at the bottom is smaller, and one at the top is bigger. And you take static electricity, or you could take DC high voltage and thin it out as best you can, and it'll lift the paper up. Now the paper has nothing in it; it's non-electrical, right? but you're saturating it with static electricity, so then it attracts up, right? So that's the whole thing to it. And I thought, but it's only a asymmetrical capacitor is the only thing that we're building there, and this thing goes in between them. So we're still an anode and a cathode, and it's still moving it, right? And it's not spinning when it goes up, it just goes straight up. And I thought, well, maybe the aluminum gave it a little bit of eddy current in there, maybe the static gave it a little bit of lift because there is a PVC pipe in the middle. But then again, you can replace that with a piece of wood and it'll do the same thing. But then again, you could put a little bit of static electricity in the wood and it'll hold it. So I was just thinking to myself, so we look at that, we look at the other one we were looking at before where the guy took two paper bowls and put it in, but put a little spinning disc on both sides, and then had the eddy currents in there, right? I said to myself, you realize, Nathan, that had the exact same parts, just put it in a different way, right? And we're looking at these systems, and all I'm seeing is the same thing. It's just an anode cathode effect, the same thing T.T. Brown was looking at. It still has to have aluminum in it, and it still has to swirl in one way and the other, and it still has to contain in some form energy that saturated the outside of the craft in some way. Okay, and then it moves, and then you look at two pieces of aluminum. If you put an anode cathode on those in the center, you could take a piece of aluminum foil like a little ghost, and it'll float. It's all the same effect.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, talking about like the eddy current effects and everything like that. I could send you a video that I took that I meant to share with you and I forgot. Where you could literally see the eddy currents off of a smoking pan. Okay, that form a vortex. All right, I can send it to you right now. You can take a look at it if you want. Just kill the volume if you're gonna do that though, because my dog was acting like a jerk. So.
Oh, we'll send it over. Yeah.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. I'll send it to you right now.
I said, who's gonna drive my flyer if I can't drive it at night? Well, my wife. So you have to watch out, man. You might get whacked. Bad driver. Oh man, so funny. Oh, Freeze Big Trip is going to sleep sound. Sounds stupid, but in the past it needed to be routine, simple, and it's not easy, rather hard. Really. I had that, so that's why I don't want to watch those movies, man. Those terror movies, I hate them. Can't ever go to sleep the right way without having a bad dream. What happens if I get one? An anti-gravity system? What am I going to do with it? I'm not going to patent it, that's for sure. I'm just going to show people on the internet what it is. Let you build your own. And at that point, you can do whatever the heck you want with it. That's all I want to do. Oh, Joe, did you send it to Facebook?
Yep.
Okay, I'll get it in just a minute. Cool. A hovering toilet. Oh my god. That would be hilarious. If you made your toilet hover, I would laugh my butt off, dude. Okay. Let me make sure this thing is on mute real quick.
Yeah. So I recorded it for like a minute because I saw it doing it. I was just heating the pan up. Cast iron. Can you kill that volume, Nathan?
Is the volume on? I can't hear it.
Oh yeah, it's so loud. My dog is about to freak out. There you go. All right. I was like, can you give me a second, pal? I'm trying to do something here. All right, you see the eddy currents? Now look at it start to spin up. You see those eddy currents on the side? See how they're wrapping up from the plane and then up around? And now it's starting to spin. Now you see the
like
tornado?
this?
Uh-huh.
And then it's starting to...
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There you go. You see that? Now,
Mhm.
it's taking it right off the plane, and then it's putting it into a vortex.
You know, they always show that. I didn't know that they were showing eddy currents in that.
Well, yeah, look at it right off the ridge of the pan. You could see it rolling off the plane up and around that lip, right? And it's literally that motion that's happening inversely all the way around that pan that's causing it to spin.
So that means that you actually are creating some disturbance in the air and getting thrust.
Well, yeah, this is convection.
Well, that's more interesting now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep,
well,
there you go. Look at it. You
I
saw
saw the
that.
tornado. Yeah. Oh, hold on. I'll pause it. And we'll see it.
You could see it spinning, and then.
Yeah, because it makes a real thin line in there.
Mm-hmm. But you could see the whole thing is rotational. The same as with the RAV. You know, you saw it kind of spinning on the plane and stuff before it swept up.
Yeah, you can see a nice stripe in there to the left of the little play button.
Mm-hmm.
Where like, yeah. Nice. Let's see if I get a curl on the side. There you go. You can just see it just curled over right there. Boom.
Yeah. And if you go slow, you can actually see the eddy currents riding up that side of the ridge.
Huh. I did not know that they did that, Joe.
Yep.
That's
Well, I
cool.
always say the eddy currents come on the plane. Okay, they're outside. They are the cause of the phase transition between the rotational plane. Okay, and then it going up and gaining in volume. You know, to turn into a vortex from a plane rotation. And then when they do that, the same as the vortex sucks up and has a core of the middle of whatever it's surrounding and compressing, right? The eddy currents, they move then from the outside, okay, to the inside once it pinches off. So if that were to pinch off into a ball, then the stable stream of it would be the eddy currents on the inside of the sphere, okay, as opposed to the outside. It basically turns itself inside out.
Huh. I'm gonna have to look at this in slow motion. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, thought it was pretty interesting. I
Yeah.
let that smoke way too long just to get this video.
Wow. Yeah, definitely gonna have to check that out and look for it. Well, now that we can see it and everything, last time I had too much magnets on it, too much magnetic value to see any eddy current popping up in there. I had them on the top disc and bottom disc, so they were just fighting each other.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, this looks exactly like a tornado formation, like in when they show them, like when storm chasers go and they start to see them start to wisp up, like a dirt devil and stuff like that. Like even it's exactly what it looks like.
yes, by the way, I did get the last one that you sent. Thank you. Yeah, we're looking at that with all. Sorry, Joe. We're talking about
Mm-hmm.
the Rodin coil there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So that's interesting. And I took a handful of screenshots that I sent to Nathan out of what I picked out. I was like, oh yeah, see, I was talking about this one process about a in fact, it's relevant to the vortex too, right? It's the parabolic sweep, and I found it, present in a couple of different configurations and angles of view, where you can literally see it sweep up, and it's like a Pringle chip.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm trying to find it right now. Yeah, it was pretty cool, man.
Oh yeah, I'm enjoying that thoroughly.
So I think I'm
Excellent
almost.
work, man. Like really, very cool stuff.
All right, I think I found it. Let me pull that right there. Make sure I look at the right thing because something you sent me is not appropriate. All right, there we go.
Oh, this is when I inverted it. Yeah, so I took a couple of the one of the configurations, which was the simple configuration. I told Nathan which one it was, but when you invert it onto itself, what you notice is the exact exchange patterns that we've been describing. And you could actually see where they cross and they actually deviate away from each other when they're headed toward each other. But then when they start coming toward each other, they
Mm-hmm.
actually accelerate and pull closer together. But then they end up parallel because they do that. So then when they end up parallel because they do that, then they go away again. So that's exactly the whole nature of it. That's what the chase ends up being. And the exchange is realistically only when they cross. But what was super interesting about this is if you see where I marked the 9 and the 4.5, if we start at the 4.5, okay, that's
Mm-hmm.
actually where the energy lines cross in opposite directions. Okay. And what happens when they cross in opposite directions like that is it goes scalar. All right. And you could see that it's basically traveling at a very shallow angle, mostly at a plane. And then it does that until it crosses the opposite color line. Once it crosses the opposite color line, it collapses and it starts using that line as a carrier wave.
Mm.
And then it zips off because it has another interaction coming up where it starts to pull away. So that's how it makes it from that cross point of 4.5 at the 3 and the 6 to make it back to the 9 where they actually collide like this, where they're both going the same direction. So
Mm-hmm.
since they're not inverse at that point because they're both coming in like this and this is their collision,
Mm-hmm.
it's an energy event. Okay. That's where it connects. You see, they can't connect opposite things parallel headed opposite directions. They go away from each other. It's inverse,
Mm-hmm.
So it's only in that one point where they actually culminate at this relationship where they're parallel and headed the same direction. And it's exactly at that 9 point like you would expect. And that's where you get the amplification event.
Nice. Let me show
And
the
that's,
other one.
yeah, and this is only one of a few. Yeah, so that was the one breaking it down.
See, there's a carrier, there's a scalar. Boom, pow.
Yeah, you get the boom pow when they go down that center in the same
Nice.
direction.
Well, that's where everybody says the 0 point is, right there.
Yep, dead in the center. But now, if you look, what comes off of that is look at the energy exchange off the side.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, right there we see the ratios in it too. You see the blue line, purple line outside the center point right there.
mhm.
They just
Yeah,
look a little different because the geometry's changed a little bit. So I mean, usually you're looking straight down at it, so you see it pretty easy. But in here, it's in spiral, so it's pulled apart a little bit. You know what I mean?
hmm
It's kind of different for a different way to see it. That's
yeah. And when you line these things up, though, it does the exact same exchange patterns that we've been describing all along with
uh-huh.
the RAV and everything like that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, one of the things I'll say is the Earth is spherical, not donut shaped. So it'd be the same thing. It's just got to have a little more edge on the top, a little more edge on the bottom. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
then I bet you'd see that event on the outside where it looks like an S, the way it shapes in.
Well, you see, you have the flower of life in the middle of this, don't you?
Oh yeah, of course. That's what I'm saying. You can see it easier from up top down. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And then this way shows it in 3D. Yeah.
Yep.
That's
You got your
cool.
6 points right there.
Yeah, it's crazy when you break it down like that and you got somebody who knows where everything goes. It's totally awesome, man. So hats off to you, brother. You did awesome with this thing. He's got another program, like I keep telling you, man. It's awesome too. So really good work there, man.
Oh yeah, I've only started to tap into it, but I had a lot of fun, and that was the second or third thing that I like, found that I was like, oh yeah, check that out. That's worth like saving the image of. That totally hit home because that is the chart that we show all the time.
Let me show you this. I wanted to just kind of. This is like AI's description of that fractal I was telling you about with the glass. So I'm saying it's more like a snowflake. You know what I mean? So it's something you'd see on a bracelet, right? And then let's see if it's on this one.
Looks like cauliflower.
There it is in glass.
Mm,
You can kind of see in the center where the swirls are.
yep.
It's just interesting how it actually works like that. And you got to think about it. This stuff was pre-programmed into the plasma without ever really knowing what's going on. You know what I mean? Because in order for it to have structure like that and it be consistent all the way down, there's a patterning system that's going on in nature that we don't realize right away in this stuff. It's interesting, man.
It really is. I mean, I always like looking at this stuff, that's for sure. But I mean, glass is an interesting substrate in general because I mean, not for anything, when they're running super high voltage and stuff, I mean, most of the time that's the insulator they're choosing to use. But remember that anything's only insulative to a certain point.
Mm-hmm. I'll show this real quick. Look at that. It's just playing with it. So right here, let me see if I can't get a good picture of it. Okay, right there. So what I was trying to tell AI is when the light comes into it, you see the white structure all around it. It's already saying that it's structured, right? That it's already taking the air around it. And I don't know if you want to say ionized it. I don't know if you want to say irradiated it. Whatever you want to say, it's definitely structuring it. There's no question there's a pattern there because the center of all of it is the RAV. It's pretty clear. Center of mass is the RAV. And you can see different layers of it right there. You can see the cross almost in this one, Joe, though there's a few more things coming out of it. It's like
Yeah.
a double or triple stacked.
Well, you can
And
see when your flare gets close to the arc also, it starts to actually pull the arc from that way to that way. The arc is actually following, like where that flare is in relative to the camera,
mm-hmm.
which is strange, as usual. Yeah, you get your full star out of that. I mean, I could see it right on my screen, and if I were to touch that photo up, you'd see all the how it's broken up. It's got that dark light thing going on again on the transverse axis.
Oh, it does. All right, Joe, I got something for you. You're going to like this, okay?
All right.
Let me go share screen again. Now, this one I haven't sent you yet. I just got this one in. This is a pattern, but just take a look at it if it looks familiar to you.
Well, I got to zoom in. Give me a sec. The resolution isn't the best. Hang on. I mean, obviously, I see the pattern. Yeah.
He goes in through and he has some charts to explain it as well. So I'm gonna have to send this to you for you to really get it. I just
Well,
kind
yeah.
of
Here it is.
yeah, no, there it is.
That's what I'm saying. I just did it manually, but it was based off of that same structure, obviously.
Well, what gets me is the bottom right corner. I don't know how well anybody can see it, but it looks just about like yours.
Yep.
That's so interesting, man. How he did that.
Yeah. Well, look, it's like a caduceus helix, top left, right?
Uh
That's
huh.
exactly what that is. It's just a spiral.
He said he was inspired by your last video, Joe.
Very cool. I love it. That's what it's all about, man. You know, it's like I find these things. Sometimes I don't even know what to do with the information. But I share it because somebody will, and that's awesome stuff. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, look at this one. Look at the upper right. Look at the red line. How it's kind of counter to the other one. It has that little swirl. It almost looks like a swirl is counter.
Yeah, I see that. That's cool because it looks pretty random, but it's not. It's all proportional. It's literally just progressing further into the same pattern, but compressing. And in the compression that it's going into, it makes it look different. But the relationships are all proportional.
So he went ahead. Give me a second. He shows the number pattern as well that
So
you're
these
looking at
numbers,
here.
by the way, this is the important stuff. The relationship of these numbers.
Hmm.
Trust me when I tell you, this is the chart to find the codes.
Well, I'm glad you guys understand it because I'm still a little bit lost on it.
Yeah, I could give you the crash course on it.
Yeah, you want to make sure that you saw that. I'll send it to you, Joe. Every one of them, so you can take a look at them.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna take a look at that. Thank you very much, Havoc, and I'm so happy you did something with it. And um, I still have a lot more to share on it too, but I still haven't taken the time to dive into the relationships of the numbers yet. Because once I better understand that, like I said, that's going to unlock a whole lot about the ratios and the proportions. Um, and what I mean about that is when you look at the chart, right, you could see that there's certain spacing, there's certain cross points, there's certain repeating patterns in those relationships
Hmm.
that all have to, that in proportion when you match them to their specific numbers, right? That shows the relationship between them.
Hmm.
And each number depending on each sequence also has a certain function, okay, that I've mapped, charted out, and labeled. Transient functions, switch functions, return functions. There's like a whole lot of different stuff that it does as far as its vectoring is concerned. So by knowing what it's doing in the vector pattern, knowing what the number is, and then knowing what the relationships are
Hmm.
between numbers on this cycle and numbers on the other cycle, and when they intersect or interact, I should say, tells you everything you need to know about the relationship of AC, DC, and vector. Believe that. That's what's crazy about it.
Okay, so show this one. He's got a couple of these too, and he's got a lot more. Trust me. But they're showing the numbers on there and where they fall in the Rodin pattern.
Hmm.
So I've always said this. I always thought the Rodin coil was just visual energy. Like you could see where things go, where there's one field, where there's a cross field. You know what I mean? And then the numbers bear that out and how it goes into the vortex.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, depending on what types of geometries you're using to wind it, um, is going to be dependent on the types of energy patterning that you get. But yes, the representative of the numbers based on the surface area and where it is on the chart. That makes sense. I like that. It's definitely one way to do it because it's self-modulating to a point, and then depending on the frequency that you're going to put into it is going to depend on the pulse patterns that you receive. And what you're looking at there, is sort of like the grid in which that pulse pattern would emerge. And the pulse pattern is just the energetic analogy of a cymatic pattern. That's all it is. But some of them could be very, very complex.
Oh yeah. Well, some of the stuff he showed us when he was showing it to us was very complex and how it came together. Let me see if I can't get down on that. See the inverse on the inside here. So interesting how this stuff works out.
Oh yeah.
Something right there that I know Ben would love to talk about. By the way, I saw him just recently. He was on Mike's show. So he's starting to get back into all this stuff. He says he has a presentation to give in front of a lot of people. So happy for him. Hopefully everything's going well with him. So to share
Yep.
that.
Yeah, I saw him say that, and like you said, good for him. Hopefully he's productive and getting his point across and selling the goods. At the end of the day, we're all on the same team when it comes to the end goal here, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Hopefully he's into it pretty good and has all the circuits worked out because some of this information would really help him out a ton.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, it's kind of a bit of a shame that there's been a little bit of snoozing going on with that, but I mean, what I understand, it's like the people that we deal with, people that we talk to and stuff. They got themselves, their lives, their projects, their channels, their everything, going on. But
Hmm.
it's like, if they kind of followed the narrative a little bit more, I feel like it would change the discussion so significantly, to be honest, because there's just things that we kind of unlocked through this entire process, you and I,
Oh
that
yeah.
they're either just stumbling upon now or they see but they don't quite understand, and we're just here to help, and we're not all knowing either. I learn every single day from the people around me.
Got you. I'm trying to pull up something real quick, and yeah, I kind of don't like the phone thing, man. It messes me up because I'm trying to pull a name off of there and go to their YouTube channel, and it doesn't show up in my regular chat, so I have to
Mhm.
do it and do it manually.
Yeah, I love that.
Let me see. Nope, still not pulling it. Oh, it's gonna make me type in the whole thing. Trying to look
Mhm.
up Dennis's channel. He says he was able to get arcs from the water. There we go.
Yeah, I've seen that before, and it's super strange when that happens, or when it goes through water and glass and then zaps you.
Okay, so I see the light. I see the energy in the light. Well, usually electricity, if it's in like AC or something, it'll stop at the water line.
Yeah, it's hard for it to make that phase change to get out. It's too much mass.
Yeah. Huh.
I mean, that tube you have is just cool in itself.
Okay, says new one from tonight. That's an older one. Okay, sorry, give me just a second. I'm looking.
I just like how that lights up green. That's cool.
Let's go to the short section. Okay, right here. That I haven't had happen.
No,
No. Have
I'm
you?
trying to see it. Let me see. No, I've had that happen. That's what I was just describing. You've never had that happen?
No.
Really?
Not on glass shard, no. Are you using AC in that, Dennis?
That's very cool though. Mine didn't look as nice when it happened to me. But he's got all sorts of tendrils coming all around there. That's so cool.
Oh yeah. It's like it went to the very center of his finger too.
Hmm. Well, it's making full contact. It's just breaking up those tendrils from around his finger. But it's going on like the most conductivity in that case is going to be to the tip of his finger where it's pressing.
Huh. It's on a bifilar connected to another bifilar. Okay, so on the other experiment that he had, that's loosely coupled. Okay. All right, got me more stuff to try.
I got this effect when I had that the coil that was wound into itself and totally 180 degrees out of phase. I got it when I ran my the center coil, the center wire of my Tesla coil through that first, and then into water. I got that same effect.
Huh. So I got a question. Okay, so we got those bifilar coils. We probably all built the same, just had a speaker wire and one wire is over the other. And I know they're supposed to be this way, but they're this way. So I was just wondering if you ran a square wave in one, you know what I mean? In the other one, what if you ran an AC wave? What would it do? Like if you just were running the DC and had a magnet on it, right? Because a magnet flips on top of it when you do it. So what happens if you run AC? Will it jump? You know what I mean? I've always wondered that. I have to hook it up and try it and just blast it with 120 volts. You know what I mean? Maybe with a transformer in the middle of it and see what it does. So,
That might under those circumstances, because the numbers you just said are a lot higher than things I've messed with. But the way that what I just described to you too, that the coil, I don't have it readily available, but it's like the one that's like around the bobbin, like that big black
mhm.
wire. The way that I've rigged it up is that the right and the left are the feeds of each side, so they're both feeding right and left. And then I hooked it up to an audio jack, right? So it's stereo
Okay.
audio. So
Hmm.
you can isolate right from left or run them from the same source. If you run it mono, then it's getting the same exact thing
Okay.
up both lines, right? But then you could run beat frequencies through it. And you could also adjust for square waves and different types of waves and stuff. Um, but the power levels I'm talking about are super low comparatively. Super low comparatively.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I was talking, let's try and find out levels. Let's,
Yeah, super low comparatively. So mine wasn't jumping around, is what I'm saying. I just don't know if it would or wouldn't.
so, okay. Hmm. I'm trying to think about it in the way that we looked at that last thing. We were looking at the square wave becoming the sine wave, but there was three levels to the square wave, right? And that's what I was kind of looking at. How do we get that to jump something like aluminum? You know what I mean? Because aluminum reacts to the AC right away because it instantly heats it. And over time, it takes DC pulse a little bit more time to get the same job done.
Mhm.
So when you rotate magnets underneath it, it's starting to heat the aluminum itself. You know what I mean? And causing that convection, I guess it is, that's going on. But when you get to AC, it does it faster, right? So my thought was, is if you ran DC on it, could you get it to start it and warm it up? And then would AC have a higher impact at that point since it's already ready to go?
Yeah, I mean, could well. I mean, the words make sense logically. But it'd be interesting to see in practice because I think that's the number one thing is that even if it would work theoretically, and even if it would work material wise, right? Like, if everything were to cooperate, I think that what we find a lot of times is that things interfere so much that the material ends up being a problem, and you end up having to add stuff to compensate for something that went wrong, right? And then you have to add, and then something else goes wrong. That problem's fixed. Something else goes wrong, so then you got to add something to fix that problem. The next thing you know, it's just like a revolving door of kind of failure. Sometimes that's how that one rings out to me, to be honest.
Well, yeah, that's why I wanted to isolate the effect.
Yeah.
If you can isolate the effects, then it becomes a lot easier to see which part is doing what, and then you know what to control. It's like a cascading failure. Otherwise, it's a mess.
Exactly, and the failure just jumps from one failed point to the next as soon as you patch it up. It's silly, But I know you've seen it,
Oh,
like time after time after time, and it could be something. It's not always material destruction failure or short sort of situation. Sometimes it's like the fields run inverse of the fields that, like, for instance, are needed to spin your motors. And that sort of thing where the motors can't spin because you're putting them in a field that's inverse of what they're trying to do, and it just becomes incoherent. So,
mm,
well,
yeah.
with that said, Nathan, I do have to go. I
All right,
told you
Joe.
I wanted to pop on and say my Merry Christmas and do the thing.
Right
So,
on, brother.
I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, happy and healthy to you and your families, and enjoy every moment you have with them.
Right on, Joe. Enjoy your Christmas, brother.
Yep, and we'll get together right after. And I'll miss everybody. See you later. Merry Christmas.
All right. There you go. Yeah, it's kind of interesting to think about some of this stuff. Some of the stuff we were doing behind the scenes, Joe and I were working on, is just tearing down every part of what's going on in fields so that we could see it. And that's kind of one of the hardest things. And we're working with Lightspeed on this as well, on how to do the sensors and stuff around it, because I've been thinking about it. I went ahead and I rebuilt certain systems on my Gravity Flyer unit. I wanted to do those. I have a bunch of stuff behind me. You can see it over, which one is it? This shoulder? This one? You can see a bunch of transformers there. We want to create some magnetic fields. Kind of curious about how that works and things like that. But I'm trying to get a view of this thing that's I'll say, I don't want a slight thing to happen. I want it to be visible. So when we hit it with a lot of current, I want to see the visible impact. I want to see that we're all seeing the same thing. And then when we tone it down, I want to see if that matches well. And I always say high voltage tells no lies. Well, high voltage tells you where everything goes. If there's a vortex in the system, if there's a non-vortex in the system, if the energy curves inward, if it curves outward. High voltage kind of reveals some of that stuff. And then you see if it matches with the low voltage as well. So when I say that, I go, 120 volts into a coil isn't that much, but will it spike aluminum? And that's what's kind of curious about the whole situation there, because we know oscillating back and forth between a triple stack DC as an AC and then going back to AC is an actual like an anti-gravity type of thing, because you're going to have to do it. It's an oscillation between the two, and it shows up all over the world in all kinds of hieroglyphs that way. And we're trying to nail down the effect of doing it. And we've seen a lot of stuff, um, that goes in there and has that weird effect where you could build up something with DC and then flip it to AC. So it's like you're taking a DC capacitor and then you can switch it over to AC right away. Or you can even take your Tesla coil and do it. We turn it on with DC and get it up to 12 volts, and then it warms up not transistors but MOSFETs, so that when you hit it with the AC, they don't fry. And we've done that before. It also works as a pulse. If you took your Tesla coil, ran it in DC, and you knew you were good on exactly where the resonance was, and then you automatically flip it to AC, boom, you're going to get a big explosion of power, okay? Or you're going to fry everything. So it's one of the two. You have to make sure that AC is perfect. So it's kind of an interesting question when you look at this, and it goes to Edwin Gray effect. If you put in a DC flyback into a simple system, okay, like you just put it on two coils. You have an inside coil and outside Tesla coil. You connect the positive one, negative the other, right? But then you put a Tesla coil next to them, and you turn it on, and what happens is the energy goes from a DC flyback energy to an AC flyback with a voltage multiplier, which basically means that you hit a whole separate type of energy there, and you went to AC, which will then take the aluminum and shoot it right off of it. And I say Edwin Gray because he did the same thing. He took a coil that was just sitting there and ran it, and then he basically turned on a Tesla coil over it. John Hutchinson did the exact same thing just recently. He was just showing the same thing recently, how he took his little coil, and then he took a aluminum ring and it shot off the top. Well, why is that? Because once you have the DC energy in there and it's pulsating and oscillation, and then you hit it with the AC, it makes that aluminum jump right off of everything. So being that you're doing that, that's kind of the effect we're looking for in anti-gravity, right? We're just looking for a little bit of extra energy, push it, give it a direction, but it's got to push against something. So I think that's what the magnets are for and stuff like that. And the reason it flexes all over the place in that gravity flyer. Anyway, that was just kind of one of those interesting things Joe and I were talking about behind the scenes and trying to nail down the effects on it. Because once we nail down the effects, then it's pretty easy to translate to people. Hey, here's the test for this. Make sure you do that one. If you do these 3 or 4 more tests, you're going to be able to see this thing properly. Then everybody can build it the right way. And that's kind of what we're looking for here. Yeah. I think that we're fairly close, and I have a couple more cool things coming up this next year that show that we built an asymmetrical capacitor out of the paper plates and stuff and everything, and more paper bowls, I should say, with the CDs on it and the right type of energy. I went out and bought every part. Yeah, that's why I was getting the battery. So that's pretty cool, man. After the holiday, I got to buy about 10 pounds of wire. And then Bedini, here I come. I got aluminum rims. They're over that shoulder right there. You can see them back there under my 3D printers. Got 2 aluminum rims sitting right there for the Bedini motor. So got some cool stuff going on, man. It's just taken a while to achieve everything. We've been adding parts and accumulating. I must have like $1,500 worth of stuff sitting on my table ready for me to assemble. And, like I was saying earlier, I haven't been doing all that well, so I haven't been able to do it. Fixing those problems so I can straighten that out. Like I said, I spent all day yesterday remapping my ultrasound circuit to get it right. And then I went back through, because it's one thing when somebody builds it for you, went back through and built it with my own hands and to see what it did. And now I have it back together the right way. And I'm hoping I can find a way to show you guys the sound on that it makes when they get in line with each other. because it'll make more sense on the water hammer effect when you get it underneath something or around something that gives that amplification wave. Because if you've seen the testing on it, when I push the button, it doubles the energy, right? And Mike over on Faraday Research has done the same thing. It doubles his energy output in voltage. It's important to remember. So when you're looking at something like a system like this, where you have it, it's a DC system, so any kind of sine wave that you put over, it's going to bring the voltage up. So when you have a piezoelectric disc going against a DC system, it's bringing the voltage up in that system. So you got to remember that because you're adding a sine wave. It doesn't matter if you add it at the beginning of the circuit, which is very easy to do, or you add it at the end where all the voltages are coming out. Because it's high voltage and because it's coming out in the air, you're transitioning it in that form. So you could do the piezo and get it to bring up the voltage. But that also means when you pop it, you're sitting there going into a joule thief and giving it double the energy once you let off the button. So you push the button, it lets off the frequency, what takes you over? The Tesla coil takes over and gives it that AC, okay? Then you hit the let go of the button, and what happens? It jumps again, okay, in the amount of energy it gets. It's pretty interesting the way high voltage works. It's a lot different than low voltage. It's something you have to experience. So yeah, we're getting there, man. And I'm writing down all the effects on this stuff. It's not normal to any book. I've never seen it done by anybody else. I'll be honest with you. Some of this stuff is you actually have to be able to do it to see it. It was like, why would you use a inverter instead of using high voltage in a system like this? And it's precisely because it makes square waves and stacks them in order to make the sine wave. You say, well, that's kind of confusing. It's because in any system that's anti-gravitational, it's both. It's AC and DC. And you got to start seeing it that way. It's AC, DC, and it's eddy currents. Those are the three factors that you need in your system. And it sounds strange, but when you get the oscillation going back and forth in that, yes, it makes a sine wave, but yes, it makes a square wave, okay? So you're making both at the same time. That's kind of the trick. And it's not really that well understood, and it's going to be very well understood. Just like you guys understand the water experiments with the Tesla coil now, we're going to understand that really well here coming up. It's the oscillation factor when it goes back and forth, because you got to remember AC is a slush. It goes back and forth, back and forth. Okay? That's what makes the oscillation in it. But that's exactly what they're mimicking in an inverter. And we're just talking 1,000-watt inverter, the cheapest one you can get, the one that not perfect, the one that's you don't want a perfect thing that's ruled out anything that overrides everything. You want the garbage one. And I hate to say that in that way, but it's true. You want the ones with the least amount of protection in it, and that's the one you want to use. Do not want to use the high dollar one. You want the least amount of protection so that it'll go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth like that. And then when you think about it that way, it makes perfect sense. Now, what's an inverter? It's basically like 4 MOSFETs, okay, that are put in there, and then it's a coil setup. So you have on one side, more windings than the other, and you're just changing the voltage in there. But that's kind of just what it is. That's what an inverter is. So what are they doing? They're just switching on and off in order to give you different heights in your square wave in order for it to match the curve. So, yeah, that's what it's doing in there. That's the basic system of what it is. Okay. So, yeah, I've looked into it quite a bit and run this stuff, and I'll be honest with you, it was kind of like I went back on Alexi's device and look at his DC flyback circuit, and I realized something very simple. He likes to add things to things that don't belong. And I mean that in this way. if you run a ZVS, okay, which most of us thought the beginning part of it was a ZVS, it wasn't. It was an inverter that he had connected over there to one transistor, and that ran his DC flyback. Well, that matters. You say, well, why? I could just go buy a ZVS. It's cheap. It's because the sine wave over the square wave has to be done in a very particular way. And if you do it with a ZVS, the higher the value of ZVS, the worse it works. So if you bought a little cheapie and it was like a 100-watt ZVS, no problem. The sine wave will go through it, no problem. If you got 1,000-watt ZVS, it doesn't do anything to it. So it makes it basically useless. So if you just run a transistor on it, it's open. It's open season on it. Just like your Tesla coil, running it without a ground and doing it as a cellular exciter with just two parts, a resistor and a transistor. That's all you're doing on the DC flyback as well. But that also means that you can convert the output and change it. That means that you can do it on the opposite side of the energy where it's coming out of the wire instead of doing it where it starts at. You see, now we get into some understanding of electricity and how things actually are working in some of these systems. It's just interesting that it does it, but it's also the reason why he did it. He needed this thing to self-correct. It needed to be fluent. It needed to be adjustable. And he used the system to adjust itself. And I know that sounds crazy, but he did. I had problems because I went in and tried to change it. I went in and said, okay, I know more than you. I put it in ZVS. I failed. I know more than you. I took my cellular exciter and you know what I mean? I went in there and I put a ZVS on it. Well, I failed. Okay. I didn't put a capacitor in there. Again, I failed because there's a snubber circuit on it. So as the ultrasound works, it fills the snubber circuit. So it fills up that capacitor, and then it gives me a voltage doubler circuit on the other side of it when I release that capacitor into the coil. So I then double the value of my coil. So it is one of those things that suppresses your coil and then it'll expand out. So now you get a voltage doubler out of it. Just think about what I'm saying here. He found a way to change the energy, to amplify it, to move it to one direction to the other without compromising the system, just by learning how each thing worked together. He was creating a draw on the top with the wire that was on the top, and this goes to the crappy way things are built. Everybody says, oh my God, there's a wobble in your disc. It's a failure. It's a failure. No, it's not. He designed the top so it would tap. Tap, 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 right? Just like that. It wouldn't sit on there and scrape it. It would tap. Well, why would he do that? It has to do with the charge on the center plate. If you took a PVC pipe, right, and you took some foil underneath, and this is something that he did, and you tap the high voltage on the foil, it changes the actual PVC pipe on where the energy is. So it'll do nothing, and then boom, it'll go down to it, right? Well, it's making a attraction to it. So think about that in kind of a reverse way. If you put that same thing on the top disc as it's rotating, and it's tap, 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 what are you doing? You're no longer, okay, following the normal flow direction of it. It's pulling it, right? It would normally pull down the PVC pipe, but in this case, it's pulling up the center plate. It's one of the things missed when you look at what he does. And then he also runs the effect of two plates on it that have divots in it like an orange peel, and the center plate's solid. So what do you get on that? Well, it's just like the high voltage thing when you run a saw blade on one side and you got a circular rod on the other side and it's aluminum. What happens to it? Well, it conducts better and it gives you double the efficiency out of it than you would get in a normal situation. Copper is absolutely horrible for that. Aluminum's great. It's just different materials do different things. But it's the flow rate you get. You know what I mean? You get the flow rate much higher. Where I failed is I put the dimply stuff of my plate in the center. It was an automatic failure. I reduced the amount of energy in it by 50% as soon as I did it. I also reduce the eddy currents in the center of it by doing that as well. It should be properly, about a 16-inch thick. And with some of this dimply stuff, it gets thinner than that. And then they like to coat it with multi-layers of garbage or put copper in there and then aluminum over it sometimes, so you never know what you're going to get. Putting a regular piece of aluminum in there made it even better. I mean, simple changes like this matter a lot when you do it. The cutting of the motor off, oh my God, such a big difference. It's changing the center point of gravity in the system. So when you're dealing with rotational mass, okay, and you have a center point to that rotational mass, how do you change it? Well, you keep a loose system on the sides of it, okay, so that the wires will let it tip. You keep it too stiff, it won't tip. You got to let it loose. And what it does is it'll hit that side, and it's going to this side, it's going to the right. You turn off the motors, it goes back to the left because the eddy currents take over, okay? It's an eddy current effect of aluminum. And then what does that do? It catches on the corner. If it's wobbly, okay, this whole thing is jiggly, it'll go to one side and change the center of mass. And then once you completely build the energy above it, it goes like this and resets itself. And that's based on the centrifugal mass of the actual weight that you have in there. Now, some people would say it's torque, okay, and I can understand that. And in that situation, I might agree 50% with you, but I know the eddy currents are pulling it the other way. So that's one of the things that you rarely see. And it's one of the things that you had to see in order to know it. Crazy how it worked. It's a loosey-goosey style. It's a junky reason that the whole thing worked. And everybody goes, no, you got to tighten it. It's got to be this super tight. You got to build this super hardcore, cleaned up thing. And that's not the way he built that thing. He built it as a piece of junk. It worked because it was. That's what's insane about it. So, I mean, we can change all the frequencies and everything, man. I could change the frequency in your testicle. I could change it in high voltage. I could change it in just about any system you want. I can make it all the same. I can make it all within the same parameters of each other, but it's not until it works cohesively together that it works. Just interesting. Energy, stuff like that, man, working on it. Yeah, it's all coupled, man. All that induction heating and everything, it's all coupled. I guess that's why I said it took him a long time to get it. I mean, he's basically taking an asymmetrical capacitor, which basically just means it's an air capacitor, okay? And you want to pop an air capacitor. So how do you pop it with a sudden burst? You basically take two plates like this, right? And you put them together and you pull them apart. Here it sparks, pull them apart here, right? Now you have capacitance that builds up in between, and when the capacity gets high enough, it'll spark over. Okay, it's pretty simple, right? So how do you do that in a very fast fashion where you can double the energy of it? Well, you make a DC capacitor, make it fill up all the way, then you use your Tesla coil to make it into AC. Well, as soon as it goes to AC, it has a tremendous amount of power popped into it, okay? It'll go over there and quadruple your power easily or higher. But what does that mean to aluminum? It means it's forcing that aluminum to react. It instantly heats it. It instantly moves it. It's instantly power in the field. That's a massive understanding. It's something that you really have to see it to believe it, but it's absolutely perfect in the way it works. That's why I say, but this is the same thing as Edwin Gray. And you go, why? Why would it be Edwin Gray? You go to the capacitor. He did a demonstration once where he had a coil was wound and he had a simple aluminum ring. And he put it over there and he says, look, we have the power on. There's nothing going on, right? He goes, flip the other switch. Well, when you flip the other switch, you turned on some kind of a Tesla coil onto it. And what happened? This ring flew off, right? And you think to yourself, well, that's an AC reaction, but you're getting a DC signal through it. how did you get both? And it's that simple understanding of coil inside of a coil that gives you both. And any field next to it, field tolerance, anything like that, it's how did you get the sine wave into the square wave? That was it. That's the trick. Okay. You built up your square wave, okay, full of energy. Then you use it as an AC capacitor versus a DC capacitor. Why? It has to do with how the energy comes up, and then boom, just like that, it spikes out. That's AC capacitance dump. How would that help in a motor? Well, think about it this way. Every time you do that, if you're dumping an AC capacitor into an AC motor, what are you getting? You're getting this. What does that mean? That you're basically turning it on and off, right? But what is that in the motor terms? It's duty cycle. All you're doing is a duty cycle on there. So you're turning the electricity on and off by dropping from an DC capacitance to an AC capacitance and then running it through. Boom, 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 right to a motor. You put a spark gap in there and it goes a one-way direction energy source. Well, buddy, you got a motor that's going to run. And it's going to run really well because you're dumping AC. You're not dumping DC into it. You're dumping AC. Much more powerful motor. That's Edwin Gray. That was his secret. That's how he did it. And it has to do also with the battery that he said he was using. It was like a dump capacitor instead of a battery. And he showed it, and people would go, well, why would you want something that dumps really fast of energy and it's really easy to fill up? Well, because it's a dump capacitor. It's not really a battery that he showed. I don't know if anybody picked that up or not. When you watch that for that car, if you ever seen that little Geo Metro, and that's not Edwin Gray, that's a different guy. They did the little Geo Metro and he had that battery and he had that, and I was just wondering, why is he doing that? Well, because if you can get a capacitor to fill real quick and then you can AC discharge it, you have a massive energy spike. That's what he was looking for. That's what we're looking for. Normally you see it in a negative reactance type of thing. Why not cause it yourself? We do it in a Tesla coil. You realize when you take a diode and you take two of them and you put them, in, I think it's on your positive, okay? And then what happens, okay? You have a diode effect. Well, it cuts off half of the wave. So when you do that on there on the positive side, if I'm not mistaken, it'll give you half of the wave on the negative side. If you do it on the negative side, it gives you half the wave on the top side. You're only getting the humps of it, right? You have to think, how do you create a spike in that? Well, that's exactly what a Tesla coil does. It creates that energy that only goes in one direction, so you're getting all of it coming out one side. That's how you create an inductive spike. So Master Evo did an excellent job of demonstrating that, by the way, on his coils. I watched it the other day, and he was talking about the spike, and he explained it clearly of what it was. So that was fairly interesting, guys, that the information's been out there. It just hasn't been put together all together. You know what I mean? Not everybody gets to see everything. So yeah, all these systems lead back to the same thing, and you start to realize something. It doesn't matter if it's Hutchinson, doesn't matter if it's Bedini, it doesn't matter, you know what I mean, Edward Gray, it doesn't matter anything, they're all doing the same process. They're taking the DC, making the AC. And once you realize that, there's, I don't know, a bunch of different handful of ways to do it. And I've been recording each way to do it because I'm fascinated by the process. Let's see. I followed you 2 years back. What is your inspiration to exploring the flying disc project? I'll say this. I actually started out interested in the Otis T car experiment. And I just thought there's no reason why this thing shouldn't fly, right? And because I like to play with high voltage. And you got to understand, for anybody who plays with high voltage, what gets you interested in doing anti-gravity was because you start to realize that energy's everywhere, and if energy is the process of how things work, then energy can control gravity itself. And it seems pretty simple, right? And then you see things work, and you start to see things to change the ability for it to grab onto something or for it to repel it, right? And you realize it's just not a magnetic effect only. And I went from just playing with spark gaps to tearing apart CRT TVs in order to get the parts from them, and then just using them straight from the TV. Anything I can get information wise on that, anything I can make cool sparks out of, man, I did it. Voltage doubler circuits, voltage multiplier circuits, all of them in there, find out why they work, what's going on with them. Got into lifters. Lifters are working on an asymmetrical capacitor. So I learned from that, and I said, okay, all right, we have something that most people think is ion wind, but it's an asymmetrical capacitor. So you got to go, okay, what's the difference? And the difference is weight. You see, you only get 2.4 meters per second out of ion wind. It doesn't go beyond that in any single system. You have to multiply it with multiple levels of the system. Once you realize that, the ignorance comes into play. How much weight is your craft, and is it really lifting on ion wind? And did you double or triple that ion wind to get there? And you have to measure that. And then for anybody who has a lifter who does not have a machine out there measuring the ms, meters per second, you have a problem because you're not in the right theory. And that's what I got excited about anti-gravity, because I knew right then and there they're missing it. And I built plasma channels thruster, and man, I made it look perfect, and it got all the flow out of it and everything else, and tried to multiply it and learned which energy systems multiply it, which ones don't. DC energy is a very weak multiplier. AC energy is a much higher multiplier. Going into aluminum on one side and the wire on the other, and just making little scars on it so you get the stuff to flow better. Stuff like that. And, you get into how that works, and you go, okay, the first one I built was Otis T car, and I built that whole thing. And I did it probably about, I don't know about this wide, about 2 feet wide. And I didn't think I was going to do a YouTube channel, so I just gave it away. And I should have kept it. It had the Utrons and everything in it, got the high voltage to run on it, stuff like that. Now, I didn't know as much as I did now, but it was certainly a good frame. So, yeah, I got into it then, and I just said, you know what? I'm going to go for it on our YouTube channel. And I started the Gravity Flyer and the Flying Project. And I says, you know what? We're going to do it from there and see what this guy has, because I knew it was an asymmetrical capacitor as well. The hindrance of it was the center plate, and how do we make the center plate work with everything else? And that could have been why it lifted more weight. And that was a curious thing, because we can all put one of these things together in, do it with the paper bowls, but that's not pulling up a lot of weight. We can also do it with a voltage multiplier that's positive, not negative. I learned that the hard way. And you could do it and lift a little bit of weight. And you got to remember the effect of aluminum to AC. The thicker the aluminum, the heavier the effect on the AC that has on the aluminum. Okay. So when you're using really thin aluminum, like a aluminum foil, it doesn't have the same reactions to it. So the heavier the AC that hits it in the pulse, the more reactance it has. And if you warm it up with DC, does it go to AC? That's why it's one of the questions Joe and I came up with on this that I was asking him about. Anyway, that's what kind of got me into it. That's what why I went to this, because I could just have fun doing high voltage all day, be super good at Tesla coils, and be able to turn one on from across the room and just set the frequency in one and set off 3 or 4 of them, just, you know what I mean, without anything attached to them. I do that all day. You know what I mean? But taking on a challenge of a gravity project is more like, can you actually put into practice what you think it is and make it work? And that's one of the challenges. I mean, that's why we love the Rad projects, because it was one of those things where it showed you something, but when you got into it, dug into it more, it was explaining everything. But then I wanted to make sure that this worked as well. I'll be honest with you, man. If both of them work by the end of the year, I'll be just sitting back explaining it, and hopefully everybody else has it as well. That's kind of the goal. You know what I mean? I didn't do this to get rich. I didn't do this to get famous, man. I have a great life in retirement right now. I do this because it's my hobby, it's my passion, it's my fun. I like to do this stuff. You know what I mean? I like winding the coils. Even though I sit there with my old lady glasses, my wife's glasses, and they're down to the edge of my nose, and I'm looking down at this coil and I'm trying to wind this little tiny, you know what I mean, thing on it and trying to wind it, man. And it's hilarious to see, and you know what I mean? But I have fun doing it. You know what I mean? Why do you zap something? Let's get some fun. You know, if you get zapped in return, okay, I'm still having fun. Man, your listeners, I want to thank you. 5 Old Men Build memberships, man. You're totally awesome, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm just glad other people enjoy it. Okay, so when we do something like this, I could have just, I don't know, taken a year or two and just read physics books and explained physics. I have no desire to do that. You know what I mean? Just none. I understand things at a rapid pace when it comes to building things. You know what I mean? So I like to build things. That's what I like to do, man. I like to build things, see them work. I used to be a cabinet maker, like to build little boxes. You know what I mean? Little cabinets, stuff like that. Didn't know how to build doors. Got into that, built doors. All that kind of stuff, man. I owned my own cabinet shop. My father owned a cabinet shop. We're all kind of, you know what I mean, grew up in the business. And I said, well, I have 2 plates and 4 screws on my back, so doing that to this day is not easy anymore. So I just picked a different hobby, something I like to do. And like I said, I had built the ODC car one, and I said, so, let's just go ahead for the gravity fire. And I'll be honest with you, man. I could have very well went off to something on my own and other things, but I always have in the back of my mind, if somebody across the other side of the world could do this, then I can do it. And there's got to be a reason it worked for him. There must be something I'm missing. And every time I get in there, it's like peeling an onion, man. I always find a different layer. But I think that's a good thing because, like, I have a Tesla coil, unlike most people, on YouTube, that theirs blows up after 5 minutes. Mine runs all day. And it'll run all day at 40 volts. If I go up to a higher transistor, I could probably run it at 100 volts all day. And all through the next day. Because I understood the process. That's what I think's fairly cool. And anybody who uses that, because I know when I started doing my Tesla coil and do the ZVS, there wasn't more than I think 2 or 3 people that were doing it. And at that, it was still in a preliminary kind of thing. It was like you didn't get all the information at once. It was kind of hard to build. You didn't know which size coil to use with it. You really didn't have all the correct information you would really need. And I just simply simplified it and then put out parts to make it work. You know what I mean? Here it is. This is what you need. You know what I mean? Buy it yourself if you like to. If you don't like to buy it, I have it built and you can just buy it. But now it's joyful. Now you can do experiments with it. And you go, oh man, I could experiment all day. I don't have a problem. This thing's not blowing up on me. Dude, this is where it's at, man. This is kind of what you have to do. And then I have another circuit that I'm working on right now, and I'm just trying to nail down the details on it. And it's basically the same frequency circuit I used probably, what, 2 years ago? And I just use a higher value transistor instead of a MOSFET. And I changed the frequency of flybacks, AC and DC on it. And then I tried to streamline the process in order for the Rodin coil, in order for you to put the DC into it so you can get all the magnetic effects. I mean, that's kind of what I like doing. You know what I mean? And yeah, Dennis is awesome, man. He's built my Tesla coil, the same one I built, and he's done it in AC, which I commend you. You're much better than I am because I get frustrated with AC. But yeah, I mean, kind of this is why we do the channel, man. It's, I think a lot of people think, well, you guys get into different things in the universe and all that. I think all that's fun. But the core value of my channel is how I manipulate the energy and stuff like that and change it into different things. Do I have any previous did I have any previous experience in physics? No. Here's the honest truth, man. I don't read physics papers. Okay? I just don't. I never really, until maybe 6 months ago, when Limited State was challenging me on something, read the Tesla patents or anything like that on Tesla coils. I never did any of that. I just have a understanding of how things go together. And albeit, I'll tell you this right now, I have a pretty good record of when I say it works, you'll find a physics paper that matches exactly what I'm telling you. It's just because they saw the same thing I did. But I'm seeing it through experimentation, and they're seeing it through mathematical formulas, which I'm cool with, man. I love math. I did algebra 2 and geometry as home studies. You know what I mean? And passed them. I showed my son both of those, and he cram coursed it in 3 months on both subjects, and he passed those. I'm very good at numbers. Very good at understanding whichever formula we can follow it, and I can replicate your formula. And that's kind of the same thing I do in building. Once I see how you did it, there's no chance I'm going to be able to do it, and you're not going to be able to stop that. Once I see it, I could imitate it. And I don't know if that's some kind of memory thing or what it is, but it's just how I work. So when I build cabinets and stuff, I never sat down and learned a tape measure until, I don't know, the week I had to sit with my brother and learn cabinets. And at that, it was like, here you go, here's the measurements. And then boom, I was flying it right through a table saw without a problem and getting it done because my dad had passed at that point. And, I mean, we needed the money to put the food on the table. So had to learn how to do things quick. I honestly have never studied for a test. I mean, I just don't do it. I always had to work after school, so I had no time to study. I had no time to do homework. I would always, do good on the test and, get a C average. And then when I decided I wanted to do my homework for that year, I got all A's and one B. But in the class that I got a B, I got an award for math. What are you going to do? I mean, it just, things come simpler for me in some of these ways than it does for other people. And I don't mean that in the bragging way, because I like to share those things with everybody else. If I can understand it and teach it the next day, then everybody else around me learns more. If I can know how to build a circuit and I can show you how to do it much simpler, I'm going to do that. But I also don't have the hindrances of anything else in my way. I don't have pre-existing conditions put on any of my work like other people do. I can see things clearly for what they're meant to be. I can clearly see what it is versus other people trying to add, oh, it's this experiment, it's that experiment. No. It is this, right? And then I'm going to change it a little bit and it's still going to be this. You see, that's the difference. I don't have a bunch of theory running around in my head to screw it up. I just have what it does. And it's kind of interesting in how that works. I don't know if that's good or bad for everybody. I could go down and read the books, and then I'll be done with it within a year. It wouldn't be that hard, but yeah, I just choose not to. I'm in retirement, man. Why would I want to do that? You know what I mean? My only my only thing to this, man, is to help people out, and that's what I do. You want to learn how to build perfect Tesla coil? I can do it. You want to learn how to build circuits in order to play with your systems and have fun with anti-gravity kind of projects? I could do it. That's what I do on the internet, man. That's what Old Man Builds is about. So I think it's kind of cool, man, because I meet people like Sean, and Sean's the greatest at this. He does all kinds of adventurous stuff out there, man, and he helped me with my Tesla coil. He was laughing at the fact that I was frying it and just walking over casually to it like nothing was going on. He knew I had something wrong, and it was just hilarious how we met, and it's an awesome friendship him and I have, and we always talk circuits back and forth to each other, man. I thoroughly enjoy it because that's kind of the thing him and I do, the same. He'll do an experiment, and I'm like, okay, you can't do that without me doing it, right? So then I'll do it, and even if I don't tell him I'm doing the experiment, I'm doing it. You know what I mean? Because you can't let people one up you all the time, and trust me, he's a very smart man, so it takes a lot to keep up with him. So see this pick apart nano coating stuff. The people have been able to really figure it out yet. Well, I'll give you an idea that, and I think somebody did figure it out, by the way. Not necessarily in, how do I say this? They figured out that there's a combination between high voltage and the carbon, and then how to make that into graphene. And it's because of the heat levels and stuff you have to be at. And just understand this. If you're creating a RAV in between your anode and cathode, and you put it into carbon, and you're transmutating carbon into in you know what I mean, stuff like that, into the different elements, that's where the answer is. You don't need a fireplace that gets super hot and everything. You need a point of ignition that's super hot, and you need it to rotate into carbon and then spin it inside that carbon so that you can get to other things faster. I want to say this, we talked about it with the swords and stuff like that. If you want to make the steel better, how do you do it? Well, you put it in a RAV. Why? Because it has all the self-contained plasmas in it. But then you go, well, how do you do that in a fire? Well, you have to make sure you got the heat levels right in order for the energy to swirl. Energy's energy. It works on the same principle. It just depends on your environmental condition, not so much whether it's electrically driven or if it's driven by coals or something like that. It's energy. Once you create that state of energy, then you get a higher compression rate. Now you're able to manipulate the metal in a way you weren't able to do it before. If you learned your craft and you did that in sword making, you'd have the best swords ever. And that's why some of the samurai swords are the best. They learned it. Now take that in today's technology. If I want to make something and put nano coating on something, I'm going to do the same process. I'm going to find out the clearest, simplest way to get the most effective product I possibly can, and how to put that into a technique to get it done right away in order to do it. That stuff is one layer thick, man. So you put it on there and you nano coat it on, which is just that one layer, and then you get the electricity to flow over it, no problem. That's what's interesting. You know what I mean? That's the neat part about it, is that you don't need a bunch of circuits. You don't need a bunch of other things to do this. I'll give you a perfect example. It's like, why use aluminum, bismuth, aluminum? Well, think about it. You're trying to create eddy currents and convection, right? But what happens to the bismuth? Well, look at the melting point of bismuth. You're going to heat up the aluminum to the point where each side of the aluminum is heated and creating your convection inside of an isolated place where your bismuth is, But the bismuth is no longer going to be in a solid state. It's now going to be in a liquid state. When you put it into a liquid state, then it has a higher amount of energy that comes into it. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay? Now we're getting to why you do it, the convection, the eddy currents. It all makes sense now because now it's making its own magnetic field inside of the two pieces of aluminum, which is constantly putting on the shell on the outside of the craft, which means that it's going to propagate and build a spherical structure around the craft in energy itself in the gases. So why would I want that? Well, that's the perfect anti-gravity craft. But that's the perfect understanding of it. You have to understand the temperatures in the material you're working for, because aluminum has a much higher rate in temperature. Bismuth has a much lower rate in temperature, but the effects of bismuth inside of it with the eddy currents makes it amplify the amount of the magnetic field in it. And think about the way the RAV's built. Eddy currents, magnetic fields, compression of plasma inside. You're making a fluid rotate around an entire craft in there while creating these currents in there. It's a massive understanding to get it. Once you do it, then you go, oh my God, we have the right stuff finally. We finally have the right stuff in order to make this work. But that's kind of the point, man. That's why I always say transistors and MOSFETs, they're point of saturation. They're not a point of, one little ball of energy going to the next. I don't believe in that. They're points of saturation. It's points of field. Fields build out. Fields, go like this and touch each other. And once they touch each other and interact with each other, they amplify the energy coming out of it. That's why a transistor is known as a multiplier. So it wouldn't multiply little balls of energy. Just understand that. That doesn't make any sense in this world. It will amplify your energy when it goes into when you hit points of saturation, though. That's what's awesome. Hey, Merry Christmas to you too, man. I really do appreciate you watching, brother. Thank you. Yeah, so, just kind of understand stuff like that and see it in your own level. Look, what do I think an electron is in anything? So think of it like this. If you have an energy source and it goes and curls, right? And it's going through anything, when it gets a high enough voltage, what'll happen is it'll separate and curl back onto itself and create plasma. Once you created that plasma right there, then you have what everybody would call an electron. But electrons aren't consistent in the circuit. You're basically getting fields all around stuff. Electron is the actual hindrance to anything because it creates plasmoids inside of it. And once you have plasmoids, then you have a problem, okay? And I use those terms loosely, by the way, the plasmoid and the electron and all that, because it's all the same thing. Same as ball lightning. It's structured electricity that goes in a spherical form. That's all it is. And when you know that, then you know when you created something like that, is it self-sustaining or not? Well, it depends on the compression rate. If you don't compress it properly, no, it's not self-sustaining. There's too much energy in between that's unused or in the wrong configuration. But once you do compress it, you understand that it'll self-sustain longer. This is one of the things that I get into AI about, because it's like, if you know this and you know that about energy and you know you're dealing with the compression rate, as soon as you put it in the compression rate, you're putting in a gravitational rate. Okay. They say that gravitation is a fundamental thing. It's not. It's an accumulation of all the things around it. So when you put energy in a 360-degree compression, you're getting gravitational forces because you're directing the energy in one direction. When you direct the energy in one direction from 360 degrees in a sphere, you get gravitational forces. That's why gyroscopes, stuff like that, are so important, because they take the energy and they peel it into 4 or 5 different layers and split it up. I can see it very clearly, and it's emergent. It is not a fundamental force. Gravity is emergent. It emerges from the condition that you put it in. Think about this: when you see the pictures of space and you see our solar system, what do they say? We got a round sphere, and then we got rocky layer on the outside, right? Well, that matches exactly how everything builds out when you build out planets. So, what's, why is that a surprise? Is there another planet outside our solar system? It's more likely that there's a gravitational force pushing upon the sun. And what I mean by that is if you look at our own magnetosphere, you'll see one side loops, okay? But then the other side goes like this, and it has a second loop in it, has a figure eight to it. And because it has a different pressure going on between there, because it creates a loop over here and the regular system around your planet here. But our solar system is built out in the exact same way. So, the sun structure to the outside of the solar system builds the same way. So we're always going to have an effect of gravitational force coming from an outside source, which is the reason why it works, because it's creating a balance between the two that always exists. That's pretty simple to see once you build the RAV out. You can see it clear as day. That's one of the first things that we show you. So, yeah, pretty interesting how that works. But gravity, you say, well, if it's, here's the big thing that I have trouble getting across to people is, if gravity is emergent, that means that there's a system that can be broken. If gravity is a fundamental force, you can't break it. We know gravity can be broken. As soon as you go to the moon, gravity's broken. Okay? It doesn't work the same way. And it's conditional based on the environment that you're in. Once you understand that simple understanding, you know that it's a gravitation based on an environmental condition inside the planet because it changes outside the planet. So now think about it as you're inside the planet. If you're being compressed upon, what do? You can make a smaller zone with a higher value of compression. They say EM is stronger by 10 to the 32nd power or something like that more than gravity. Well, that's because you're not taking into the account the small level of EM you're getting right here versus the entire planet, which is massive. So if I shrunk that planet down to the size of your EM field, you would have no chance in hell in competing with it. But now that it's so opened up and spread out, now you have a chance, because now all you have to do is create an asymmetrical capacitor that does the same thing as the asymmetrical capacitor of the planet and move within the field. We see it all day long. Aluminum plate, little ghost aluminum. Why does it move up and down? Because it's building inside of an asymmetrical capacitor, which the planet is an asymmetrical capacitor, and you're building your own asymmetrical capacitor. You're building a higher density level inside of it than the locality around you. There you go. It's how you see gravity and perceive it to understand it. We already know the answer. We're just not seeing it clearly. You're not seeing what it is it's trying to tell you. We're in a state of energy here that's all around us. You don't see it anywhere, but once you understand how light works, you understand that there has to be energy all around you. Light is the reflection of energy off of a surface. Once you understand that, you know you're in an energy zone. Once you know you're in an energy zone, you now can manipulate the energy zone. I've always told you, energy, it's the same. It's your environmental condition that has to change. So if you wanted to create a anti-gravity craft and you wanted it to work basically like a gyroscope, what do? You create a DC field that goes this way. You create an AC field that goes this way. Okay? And you're trying to go vice versa on both, and then flip back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, two different directions. Okay? And then you're going to manipulate it by turning it. So you have a third field on the outside that you're doing this with. It's as simple as building a spherical Tesla coil here, building one inside, changing the direction of it. So it goes like this. One's like this on the inside. One's like this on the outside. And then you take a flat ring. Why does that match with the Earth? Because most planets have rings around them even if you can't see it. There's rings around Jupiter, Saturn, a bunch of the planets out in the outer solar system. Earth has a ring that we cannot see, but it is there. They're all building out in that. What happens is because the force that goes like this around the planet, that it builds out that center ring. It's natural. That's why heat goes out there. That's what's forcing the energy out. The heat goes out like this, and boom, it grabs onto extra stuff and holds it around it. Yeah. Yeah, Merry Christmas to you, Vortex, man. Awesome, brother. Nice to see you out there. So they say interacting with the magnetosphere, that's kind of you're coupling with a weak source of energy. And think about it like this. Go take a anode and cathode and high voltage and put something in between it when it's too far apart. This is T.T. Brown's understanding. It's not ion wind, it's this. When you're in between an anode and cathode, you're in a weak field in between it. Okay? What makes anything work between that two fields is if you put a screwdriver in between it, you're making a equal point between the two in order to get the high voltage across, right? But when that high voltage crosses, it crosses in a single direction. Which way are you facing when you have that direction? Which way is your positive and negative facing once that does that? You say, well, the Earth's too far apart. It's too far apart. Not necessarily. It's a matter of the condition you set it in. It's not too far apart at all. You're just mentally blocking yourself from seeing it. It's a weak field. It's T.T. Brown. Pull it so far apart that it looks like nothing's going to work. I've made paper become high voltage to lift in between that field. I thought, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense, Nathan. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, think about it. I have a small aluminum disc here. I have a big aluminum disc here. I got an asymmetrical capacitor going on. And all I'm doing is taking a piece of paper on a single rod, and I'm making it look like a UFO structure, and I'm saturating it with energy until it wants to lift. At the point of saturation, I've become a superconductor because I don't have any negative losses in it. I don't have a heat loss in it. It gets colder. Energy into a superconductor. Why? Because it pulls in the environmental energy around it. You're not going over unity because you're never going to go over unity of the planet, but you are using the planet's energy. A lot of people, that goes right over their head. They're like, what do you mean you use the planet's energy? You can't use the planet's energy. Sure you can. The same way ball lightning does. Ball lightning is the difference between anode and cathode. Where it finds a curl in the magnetic field is where it swirls the ball lightning, and that's all it is. Self-structured plasma, that's all it is. It's simple when you think about it. If you take away all the restrictions everybody gives you and you start to just see it for what it is, it's a very simple structure. We see it play out many times on many different areas. When you build the RAV, you instantly know. You go, oh, that's it. I did it. What do I have to do to get this thing to curl? I just need to put it in the curl itself. I need to give it a reason to spin. Anyway, it's pretty interesting, guys. So, yeah, you could do a wood stove, man. If you put it in there and make the RAV in there, man, you can make a lot of money on that, and yeah, make that stuff really fast. I saw somebody doing it. They just took carbon, and what they were doing is they took a pot and they put the high voltage in it. And Joe showed this to me, and it would every so often make a RAV. So they were getting a lot more out of it than the time it took for everybody else to do it. So that's kind of what it was, man. They probably didn't know the exact effect that they were doing, but they got something to work and went with it, which by all means is awesome. So, I mean, if you want a little extra graphene in there, you know what I mean? Create an anode cathode effect, build a RAV in it, and then get it to swirl around the pot and then with the RAVs still going the entire time, and you get a lot more of it. Think about that. That's pretty easy. And your yield's going to be higher, and then you're going to be able to use it for coating stuff, which I can't wait till they take out the copper out of some of these transistors and MOSFETs, and they start putting that in there. You imagine that? The speed that it would take. So if you didn't know this, if you wanted to make a faster transistor, you take out the copper and you put in silver, and it's not cost effective by any means, but it's much faster. And you can also put in there gold. It's a very fast electricity, goes through it. But they haven't gotten to the point where they can mass produce, things out there to get us to go faster. But that's all it really is when you look at it. Just replacing metals to find out which one does the best job of things. I mean, if I was a metallurgist, man, I'd be over there doing all kinds of different tests over there to figure out which one does what on electricity and then using it because it's way, way better. So, Soviet arc lamp looks like a RAV. I think I've seen one of those. They have the big, they're like size of my hand on each side like this, and then it builds out energy. I thought it looked more like I might be thinking of the wrong one, but the one that I've seen just looks like the pure purple plasma, like a plasma display. It looks beautiful, by the way, but I didn't see a RAV inside of it. I'll have to look, and if you got a picture, send it to my email. Yeah. Well, one of the distinctions of the RAV is that brightness. All the colors coming out of it at once. You know what I mean? How it builds out when it's not in a structured form. The fact that it builds crystal, and I don't know why AI doesn't see this. Maybe they train them not to. If you're doing light to plasma conversion, and then that same device is making plasma to crystal conversion, you literally have energy to matter conversion going on. That means if you say that light is emergent into a area, okay, that when it comes into a particle, and I don't mean that as a particle as an energy, I mean that as a particle of like an asteroid or something like that, because at that level, that's what it would look like. You get in there, it immediately hits it, and it self-structures it, and it creates a cave network inside there. And what it is doing is it's using frequency inside there in order to keep the thing going. You'll see it shoot over to it, and then it self-structures, boom, and then it hits it again, and then it starts creating the plasma fields inside of it, and it'll take that structure right there, and it literally will take it from light to plasma in an instant, okay? And then it'll run, okay? And then over time, and it takes some time, you're going to be able to get a solid plasma out of it. And it's going to start to build crystal around it. So you could say it captures some stuff from around the universe or what, or around the room, or however you want to say it. It's still building out that way. And it still builds that beautiful field around it, which means it's a containment area. And inside the containment area, it gave a compression. Inside the compression area, guess what? It creates a gravitational field that starts everything. Anything outside that field now pulls it in, and it now will self-structure. Pretty interesting, but it works. So that's not a lot of people probably wouldn't understand that until they saw what I saw about the RAV, and I've showed it on the channel several times. When that light beam comes off and it hits something, man, if you know how the RAV's built, you understand automatically what happened, and you automatically see the bubble built around it. It automatically told you, hey, it's building out the same way as it should. And that means that the things around the universe should build out that way too, and they should build out in the solar system that way. So is it the condition that's created before the emergence of light? And the answer is it's empty before the light gets there, and the light creates a condition. Once it creates a condition, then everything else can form inside of it, because then gravitation becomes a constant, should be throughout the entire solar system based on mass. That's pretty much and in mass that I don't mean just solid rock. I mean gas is mass. You know what I mean? Plasma is mass. All those things are considered mass. You got to remember that when you think about it, because it'll really screw you up if you don't. Let's see. They had mercury in it. Not the same. Cool. I'd love to work with mercury. I just won't do it around my family. If we got in the lab or something and we got to work with mercury, I'd be gun ho about it. But I won't. I won't do that around my family. That's just it's a bad thing. Everybody else, you're welcome to do whatever you want. I won't do it. So, yeah. Oh, enough about all that stuff, guys. You know what? I'm looking forward to the holidays. Looking forward, man, to seeing the family. Get some nice food out there. Anybody out there? Are you guys barbecuing or anything, or doing anything different, or is it basic turkey, ham? You know what I mean? Or you got a roast going on, something like that? I mean, I think we're doing a roast. I know I got to cook a turkey, and I usually cut it up before I cook it. So I'll give you the method on that. You're gonna cut the turkey breast off on each side, right? And you're gonna put that into the white meat tray, okay, in just one of those little silver pans, and then you take the dark meat along with the wings and you put it in another, and then you coat everything, right? And you cook it at 425 for about an hour, okay? And you see what the temperature is. You're looking for about 150 to about 170. I think it's about 165, 170 is where I look for it. Um, and you cook it to that. It takes about an hour. You take them out and you just take the turkey breast and you put it aside. You cut that up. Make sure you leave it in the drippings for a little while so it'll suck back in. Take the dark meat over there and bust it up and put it in the drippings because the dark meat, all that fat, gives it flavor, and it gives it flavor with the seasoning. Then it really comes out good, man. People that do, barbecue stuff like that, they've done this for a while. It's like an extra seasoning to it because it'll take your seasonings in there as long as it's not too salty. You got to make sure it's never too salty, but it'll take the fat and it'll enhance the flavor. And then by swirling it and letting it sit in it, it'll still suck it up into the dark meat, which is moisture anyway. But it'll come out good. And then that means when your turkey breast comes off, you're not cutting it at an angle like this. You're cutting it straight across. So when you do that, the moisture stays into it. So you get a moist piece that's been cut 2 hours prior, no problem. But if you cut it off sideways, you're getting a real dry piece no matter what you're doing. So, anyway, I missed the opportunity for Santa hat. No, I won't wear one. No, thank you. It's like wearing a beanie all the time. I just don't do it. It's a long food fast for me. You got something good related to starting tomorrow and evening until Friday. You're going hefty, hefty, hefty. Brother, I'm there in spirit with you. I'd love to do the same thing. Oh man, that sounds good. Nice. You guys are all going hefty. Roast, yes. There you go. Last one they made it. My mother-in-law made it, was really good, and they took pieces of the garlic and just cut holes in the roast and popped them in there. I like to tie off the roast, um, and I put a little of mustard on the outside. You know what I mean? A little bit of spicy mustard, and you put on some seasoning, and then you take your pan and you grill it inside the pan inside the house, and get that nice crust on the fat layer right there. Get some of that fat to render down. You know what I mean? And then you put it in the oven over top some potatoes and some uh, bell pepper, stuff like that. Some onions, give it a real nice smell in the house, make it real good. Get the drippings into the potatoes and all that. Man, it comes out really, really good. Um, that's how I like to do the roast. You go, you hit it with a little bit, and then put it in the oven for the rest of the time to cook, and make sure each thing comes off so that when you get your ribs in there, man, that they pull apart very easily. Sorry, whacking this thing right here. You got a duck? Duck's good. Yeah, duck fat's really good, actually, when you do it right. Yeah. I'm there with you guys on that one, man. I like duck. Uh, you got a chicken to roast? The chickens are good. Casserole cooked. Nice. You're making me hungry. The good thing about the cooking show, man, because we start cooking ribs, man. Oh man, 225 on an offset smoker, man. Let that offset run for a while. Looking at 6 hour cook, and then you're wrapping about an hour before you take it off. And God, man, your butter with no salt makes it come out sweet. Barbecue sauce in there. You can make your own from ketchup if you like. If not, you just use the regular barbecue sauce, whichever flavor you like. God, it comes out good. Yeah, really makes some good stuff. It's got to take that time to break apart all that meat in there, to break it down to get it really good. But God, that's good. Mm. Right on, Paul. Dispatch banana bread, brother. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, his mom makes that, and that's really good, man. Yeah. Yeah, that is several times. They're really good. Thank you, Paul. Take care of Paul over there when it comes time for Christmas. We'll make him a nice Christmas dinner and bring it to him. This is Coke is good too. Yeah, soda pops get me in trouble, man. Every time I start drinking when I get fatter, I have to stop that. Yeah, I do all kinds of cooking in the house, man. My wife likes to make Mexican food and stuff like that, so that's always really good. My daughter made it too, man. Came out really good. So, but ribs and stuff like that, the barbecue, that's me. I got a barbecue project I haven't been able to work on. One day I'll pay somebody to come over to finish it. But yeah, I love to get out there, man. Throw on some stuff on the barbecue, man. Let it sit all day, overnight. Keep the wood burning on it. I like the cherry wood; makes a nice smoke ring for everything. I know other people like hickory and stuff like that. I guess it depends on where you live. I like the cherry; it comes out real good. Right on, brother. Merry Christmas, man. Oh, Coke marinade. Yeah, I've had that. That comes out good. Now you got to go eat. Good night, brother. Thank you very much, man. Yeah, dude, one of my favorite things, and it wouldn't. Yeah, Merry Christmas to you too. Oh, yeah, 7 makes good marinade, dude. I've used beer as marinade. It comes out good. Yeah, absolutely. Get all these different kinds of marinades in there, man. Um, One of my favorite marinades is a quick marinade. Comes from Stater Brothers. One of the local markets here. It's made by Lowry's. Is the packet? I don't remember. It says like beef something on there, and what it is a tenderizer. And if you put it in with your steak and you leave it in for 15 minutes, man, it'll make the most tender steak you ever had. And they come out tasting completely awesome, and it's because of the way the tenderizer works. So it's chemically tenderizing it instead of doing it over time like your regular cook would. Absolutely amazing stuff. Am I recognized when I leave the house? No, I'm just a nobody out in the world, just another fat guy shopping. No, nobody recognizes me yet. My neighbor does, which is a good thing. But past that, no, not at all. Yeah, yeah, I like greens, man. Like I don't know if people do this. I do. I take you take cauliflower. You take oh god, carrots. Take some celery in there. You're gonna need a little bit of broccoli, and you're then gonna take some bell peppers, some onions, some garlic, and you're gonna mix it all up with a little bit of oil inside of a tray. Okay. And you're going to put it at 425. You're going to put it in for about 30 minutes if you still want a little crunchy. If you want it a little more softer because you have no teeth, because you're old like me, you leave it in a little bit longer. But the flavor on it comes out so good, and you got to just put a little bit of a little bit of seasoning on the top, a little bit of salt, a little bit of chicken seasoning. Mix it all up. Have in there your onion powder and your garlic powder. Not too much of any of those things. And you just season it over the top, man. Let it sit in there. Comes out really good. Make sure you mix it beforehand. Not too much oil in there, just enough so things don't stick necessarily, but you don't want to coat it everywhere either. Just a little bit, and it comes out just amazing. So, yeah, that one's a really good one, man. I make what I call Dan's potatoes, and you guys probably have a different name for them. It's just because my brother makes them all the time. And we cut up potatoes into chunks. Then we cut up bacon slices, and you put it in there, and you put butter in there with it, right? And you use the onions, the garlic. You put in there the bell pepper in there as well. You put in the carrots and the celery in there, and you're basically putting it on tinfoil. So you make this tinfoil thing really big. You put it all in the center, and you wrap it like a big burrito, okay? And you wrap it again with another layer. You turn it upside down like that, and you let it sit in there, and you cook it at about 425. I like cook hot and fast. 425, and then you want to put it in there for about an hour and 20 minutes, and it'll soften all the potatoes, but the potatoes will suck in all that bacon flavor. God, that's so good, man. So, like I said, we call them Dan's potatoes because my brother Dan makes them when he does barbecue. But yeah, that's really good, man. Yeah, onions, shallots. I've had shallots in there before. Those are really good. Yeah. I don't put cabbage in there. That's one thing I haven't. I have made cabbage soup. That's really good. Um, but yeah, you can make those potatoes, man. It's like you make collard greens. You put them in there, and then take your ham, and you take some bacon fat that you saved, and you want to cook your ham a little bit in bacon fat. Oh man, just take a nice big pan right there on the stove. You know what I mean? Skillet, whatever you want to call it. You want to kind of deep though, and you want to cook some of that ham off in there. Make sure you get the bone in there. Make sure you get that nice flavor of that bacon in there before you put it in the water for your collard greens. Man, it comes out good. Make sure you put some spices in there. Yeah, I like making those. My wife really likes it when I make collard greens too. So that's pretty good, man. Sorry, now I'm getting hungry. Now I'm getting hungry talking about it. But yeah, usually for Christmas, man, stuffing. My wife likes stuffing with rice in it. Something her parents made, but we always do that. I kind of like stuffing where you take bread and you cut it up and you put the garlic and stuff in there, and yeah, I'm a garlic guy. And you make it kind of like a more of a breading, more of a like a toast kind of thing. And yeah, you put it in there, and you make this. I'm not describing it very well, but it's like stuffing, but it's not wet stuffing. It's more of a dry stuffing. That comes out really good. So we do that, and then my wife always makes it's some kind of a frog eye salad or something like that is what they call it. Some kind of green jello or something in there. Everybody seems to like it. I stay away from those things, but it was good when I tried it once. My wife's a really good cook when it comes to that kind of stuff. She does all that stuff well. Everybody loves it. And then they make clam dip. Um, and then everybody likes that. Just got to make sure you tell everybody it's clam dip in case they have a shellfish thing, so they stay away. We'll take precautions for that. But yeah, and then honey ham. Oh my God, dude, ham. Oh, you take a little honey, you take some butter, you brown the butter just a little bit, okay? Then you put in some honey, put in some brown sugar in there, mix it up, man. You can put a little bit of white sugar in there. You don't necessarily need it, but you can put a little bit of that in there. You put some cinnamon in there with it, and not too much. You could put a little nutmeg if you feel adventurous or whatever. But you get that all together, and what you want to do is make sure that you break it down and get it to mix together. And then you want it to solidify just a little bit before you put it over your ham so it stays on the ham so it doesn't just fall off. because the ham's hot as it is, so you need it to solidify just a little bit. God, it makes the best hams, out there that you can put on there. And you roast out a little bit in there. God, that's good. He just had Chinese home delivery. Right on, brother. I had Chinese food the other night. It was really good. Oh, right on. Awesome, man. Oh, man. Beaver. Did I read that right? Beaver? Burr? Maybe I did. Maybe I read it wrong. Let's see. Go out and have a ham, hunt bear. Oh, well, maybe I didn't. Nice. Go out hunting. Love it. I don't hunt a lot, man. I'm too fat. I'll be the hunted. It doesn't work out for me. Right on, brother. Right on. Yeah. So, yeah, smoked ham. My brother did a turkey in the oil outside. You know what I mean? Doing that fried thing. It was really good. I wanted to get one of those Popeyes turkeys. Sean said he got one. He said it was good because I like the spices and stuff they put on the Popeyes chicken. I wanted to see if it carry over to the turkey and they inject it and put everything in there. Man, injection is a process, man. You got to learn it. Once you do, you can put some flavor in there. Love to inject things, man, if you got time. So, hooch not hunt? Oh, sorry. I thought you were out there hunting bear. I was going to give you all the credit in the world, man. Right on, man. Sorry. I don't do that stuff, man. No, thank you. Oh, man. Yeah, cooking food, man. This Christmas is going to be good. Yeah. Get in there and whip that stuff up, man. I got to go out into traffic after I'm done here and get the wife a few more things. God, man. I'm lucky the store is close to me because it's if it wasn't, man, if I had to go to the mall, it would really suck. So I'm gonna have to look that up. What he said it was. Hunch. Okay. He had a hunch that it was good. Okay, I thought he was hunting bear. Okay. Okay. Totally different thing, man. Right on. Yeah, but I'll be doing that, man. So yeah, I hope you guys out there have a Merry Christmas, man. I hope you have a good New Year. Hope you all stay safe. Hopefully, you guys all have plans with your family and it goes off really well. I hope nothing but the best for every one of you out there, man. We have a fun year this next year. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if I'm going to do another show between now and, Christmas or something like that, but, something might pop up. You never know. I think Traveling Fools is going to do a show tomorrow. So if they end up doing it, I might show up there for a little bit. Other than that, man, I'm off for the holiday and I get my diet straightened out so I can get my body working again. But right on, brother. I want to thank everybody for watching today. I want to give a shout out real quick, man. We got Ulysses checking in with 50 Man Builds membership. Darren went all out today, man, and hope everything's well with the surgery, man. Wish you nothing but the best. He gave 10 Old Man Builds memberships. And Darren hooked us up as well, man, with a super sticker. Darren, you were totally awesome, brother. Rocking it out for all of us out there. Guys, thank you very much, man. You guys have been awesome today. Merry Christmas. Hope you guys all have a good holiday out there. Hope you have a good New Year. Stay safe. To be good with your families, man. And I'll talk to you next time.
The old man will. The old man will. The old man builds, the old man builds. The old man builds is broken in the head. People not seeing reality has put them in the red. Where conscious and spirituality restricted from the norm and replaced with the ignorance of basic magnetic form. The geometry of God keeps running through his head. That's what makes old man builds broken in the head. The old man builds. The old man builds. Spheres of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to instead. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. Fears of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. Fears of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds.